We are here on a midday, on a Wednesday. You know what else we need to talk about too? I didn't even put this on the show. We need to
But
talk about Big Daddy Kane and KRS-One doing the verses.
I thought that was going to be a Friday thing, but we can do that today
We could
too.
talk about that
We don't even need
in
no warm up for that. Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. We can do that on Friday. We can really go in length on that on Friday. But what
yeah,
we
because
gonna talk about?
I was thinking catalogs, lineups, whole comparisons and stuff. Because I was going to spend some time tomorrow working on like a playlist.
Okay, let's put together a playlist for that for Friday's show, man. That's gonna be great. I mean, can you let me know who you think is going to edge out the other, or have we gotten that far?
I mean, my early thoughts say KRS.
Me too. But I
But
told
which
you,
is so
man.
funny because I prefer Kane as an MC actually, like me on a personal level.
Hmm.
If I had to like get in the car and listen to one or the other, I would probably rather hear Kane rap, but I'd probably rather hear KRS's songs, and that's why. And live performance is about a wash, and I think we saw that ourselves. So
We saw that ourselves a couple of weeks ago. Actually, what, a couple of months ago now.
weeks ago now, yeah.
Yeah, we went out there in Atlanta. And we saw Kane, KRS, Cool Mo D, and Rakim closed it out. And Kane and KRS put on a hell of a show. I mean, unspeakable. But you know what? Again, KRS's performance, the strength of his voice,
It's a voice. Yeah, the
it's
strength of the
it's
voice matters.
it's insane. He picks the right songs too. That's the other thing about KRS. KRS is going to pick those records that are gonna blare through the speakers, man. They're gonna be in Brooklyn, where the Nets play. I'm tripping. What's wrong with me? Barclays
Barclays.
Center. They're gonna be in Barclays Center. So I will give KRS the edge in an arena. I will say that. I think that Kane's performance, dance wise, and his flow impeccable and all of that, but just the person with the arena music, I might have to edge it out to KRS, but I could change by Friday. So I'm looking forward to talking about that, man. But what we came here to talk about excuse me, the BET Hip Hop Awards that happened last night. And Rap City also did a special episode. I don't know if it was an episode or they're rebooting it because Tigger put out, I want to say earlier this week, the Rap City was coming back and everybody got excited.
I think this was just a one shot
I
deal,
feel
though.
like this was a one off situation too. But to not go too far into it or down a rabbit hole, what did you think about that Rap City, I guess, one shot deal that happened yesterday before the BET Hip Hop Awards?
I didn't like it that much because it wasn't that good. And if you want to get into why it's not good, you can just start unpacking this quick and unpacking it fast.
Hmm.
It was almost like, and I thought about this even after we had our conversation in the car. What, Mike? A few hours ago,
Yeah.
I was I was thinking about this, and I was like, well, it's almost like they wanted the old people who have to go to bed to watch early, I guess. And then the awards came on, which is for the young people, and they actually did it backwards, like you and I talked about. Are you interviewing artists who we already know, quite frankly, almost everything that we need to know about them in their catalogs over again for the sake of nostalgia, when really, via your cipher, I see a whole bunch of new artists who, quite frankly, could use some couch time, seeing how their focus isn't on their mic skills.
Yeah. And it's
Maybe
funny you said that. Go ahead.
no. I just said they just did this in reverse. Like you and I said it. Like D Smoke and Fabio should have been on the couch, and Fat Joe and Jeezy should have been in the cipher with Jermaine Dupri as the DJ.
Or, if this was a situation where you do want to cater to the crowd that grew up watching Rap City, somebody like a AZ has a new album out that's pretty dope. Not everybody may know that. I think that he would have appreciated, getting on that couch. Somebody like a Conway the Machine, who, some older hip hop heads who grew up on Rap City may not know too much of on that level, but will probably be into his material. I mean, they could have used that time. I'm gonna tell you a quick story. I went to the barbershop. I want to say it might have been 2 weeks ago, maybe, and I was telling this cat from New York. I was one of the barbers there, and he's an older guy, probably in his mid to late 40s. We were talking about Wayne or something like that, and I was like, "Yo, man, Wayne is killing it, this and that." He was talking about the Wayne verse on the Drake album, and I was like, "Yeah, man, he killed that Bash Money too on that West Side Gun." He's like, "I got to check that out." So he hadn't heard of Griselda or anything like that. You know what I mean? So I put him onto that song, and I guess he had it on Spotify, and it just started, playing stuff of that ilk. And so the next week he was like, "Yo, man, I'm so glad you put me onto that song. Like, I've been getting deep in these guys' catalogs and all that." It was like, "Man, thank you so much, man. These guys are great." And so I think that, the Rap City reboot episode could have been used to actually promote the active. Because, respect to Fat Joe and Jermaine Dupri and Jeezy, but I don't think they gave us anything with that Rap City, I guess, reunion special or whatever, because they don't have the memorable moments on Rap City. Respectively, I don't even remember Jermaine Dupri being on Rap City like that. Fat Joe, maybe a Terror Squad one, and Jeezy, when, Thug Motivation 101 came out, but they're not the people that you go to for that anyway. So if you're going to go that route, that's all wrong too. But I agree with you. I think some of the younger artists or some of the artists that the Rap City audience could connect with should have been using that space. I think Tierra Whack should have been using that space.
Well, there were just a few opportunities missed. So if you just want to go to the Rap City side of it, I mean, which part do you want to cover? You want to finish covering the Rap City side or get to the Cypher side? Because I have some more intricate thoughts about the Cypher side.
It's funny you say that. We could cross over to the Cypher side. We can go back and forth because K Thompson, shout out to K Thompson in the room, he said it was depressing to see the state of hip-hop with these ciphers. Most of them really depended on the production more than their lyrical skills, and most of them don't care about the craft of hip-hop. You said something along those lines, too. Go ahead and talk about your perception of the ciphers.
Okay, so Kay hit a couple of my points, which was you can tell that they just don't spend the time, that there's just more time crafting the image than there is the rhyme scheme and the rhymes, and it shows, because here's the thing, too. They're probably popping up an hour or two or three before this and having to write something and spit something out. Now, that for a high-level lyricist, that's not much of a problem to give the cipher something noteworthy or to already have something in the bag that you're pulling up with. But the lack of craftsmanship showed itself cipher-wise last night. And when you're putting together a show and it's supposed to be a hip-hop show, there was just ways around that. Like Mike, I would have even been nice to see like Yo Gotti get CMG Entertainment together for a cipher. Yeah. Let's go back to Griselda right quick, Mike, because you brought up AZ in the cipher, and then I brought up Conway. But when you were talking, I was thinking to myself, why the hell hasn't Griselda had a whole cipher?
They didn't have a cipher before? I thought they did. I mean, double check that while you're talking.
I mean, Mike, if they did, they need to have another one, because here's what I was thinking too. Like, Westside, Benny, and Conway wouldn't even need the rap for them to have a cipher. They could get Stove, Love, Armani, and Boldy in a cipher.
True. And again, with that Rap City thing, I think that somebody like Amani Caesar or, somebody like a Love the Genius could have really used that spot.
Both of them could have.
You know what I'm saying?
Like Westside and Conway could have just pulled up with them and sat on the couch and said nothing and let them get some run. That's what I mean. There was a whole bunch of different ways this could have got played, from the cipher to the whole Rap City reboot for a night. So it was just overall disappointing.
I'm listening to you.
Wasn't there. And you want to know what else too? It's like I know this was already kind of like pre programmed in terms of like the beat selection. I guess the beat that got chose.
Yeah.
But it just didn't work for a lot of the artists too.
I don't like everybody having the same exact beat. Especially if we're talking about a current beat.
Like I wanted somebody to put their hands up and be like, "Hey, we're gonna pick another beat because that's not working for this cipher." Once you've heard everybody's rhymes and heard everybody spit it out a time or two, Mike, it's like, hold on, let's get something else.
Somebody in here says that, by the way, Nas is dropping more music on the 14th. Where did you get that from? Let us know. So we could double check that. I don't want to be out here spreading fake news. Now, what I didn't like was the fact that
Mike? What about a throwback Nas and AZ cipher? They've dropped arguably the two best albums this year. Like Mike, I was seriously thinking about AZ for Lyricist of the Year. Like I was listening to his verse on 99 Avarex, and I was like, that verse is as good as Conway's verse on Hell on Earth too.
well, I mean, you know what? Nas might be somebody who isn't attainable, right? Let's just say that.
But if you can get AZ on board, maybe AZ can get Nas because about AZ and the quality of project that he's put together. Like you and I had a whole conversation about how artists of Nas stature don't go repost like AZ's album, like that stuff that guys like Raekwon and Ghostface do. And not to disrespect them, they're just not at that highest level that Nas is at. So like maybe AZ could have pulled that off. And that's what I mean about the backgrounds, about how put this together. Like you have to have people that say stop, go, yes, and no.
Well, here's my take on the ciphers. First of all right, well, they did 3 different ciphers, right? They did the lyricism cipher, they did the hot now cipher.
Like, so the ciphers had titles?
Yeah.
It was all the same shit.
They did the hot now cipher, and then they did the digital cipher. Now, on their website, they broke down all of these things and I guess how they differ and why these artists were put in that. But to me, that reeks of someone just out of touch to even label them like that and group them in that way when, again, like you said, they're all using the same standard beat. They're using that DJ Khaled beat. And I don't know, I guess I could tell that the lyricism cipher people were more lyrically gifted than the others, but I couldn't tell much of a difference between the hot now cipher and the digital cipher. I don't really know, what I'm saying, what that means in those terms. So that was one of my things. But the other thing is, and it's kind of piggybacking off of what you said, this current generation don't care about ciphers like that.
Yeah.
And my thing is, you shouldn't force an artist who isn't into something to do something that honestly their audience doesn't care about. Back to what we were saying with the Rap City thing. Who is this actually for? You know what I'm saying?
Mike, so let's go to this, because the connective tissue in this is them being out of touch on both sides. On the old head side, who are into the rhymes, and on the young people side, because here's what I think they don't realize. Like, my daughter's generation would probably rather see them on the couch during the award show getting interviewed and talking about all the other things that they're doing than to hear them in the booth. And we'd rather hear our guys in the booth than sitting on the couch. Yeah, we know you did that. Get your ass in there and bust this rhyme right quick. Like Redman did. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's like we didn't want to see Redman on the couch. Like when we heard that there was a cipher, it's like, no, we want to hear Redman in the cipher because we hadn't heard from him in a minute. And so they missed it on both sides. The connective tissue is them being out of touch, because here's what I mean about the behind the scenes with the stop and the go and the yes and the no. It's like you have to, it's a no 2 ways, like N-O and then K-N-O-W, as in know your audience. And
that's the thing.
These guys can't spit like that. So if you're going to give them a cipher in a format that's going to work for them for the modern generation. You can't give them the Jada Kiss fabulous most Def Black Thought cipher. Are you nuts?
But that's the thing. Their generation doesn't even care about that. So who are you making this for? Like, who is this programming tailored around? And that's why the BET Hip Hop Awards suffers in ways that the actual BET Awards doesn't. Because the BET Awards is more so for a more versed and older audience. Let's just keep it real. You could throw R&B artists out there and this and that, but with the BET Hip Hop Awards, this is supposed to be catered to a younger audience, right?
Is it?
I think so. Look at the categories. Let's look at who's nominated. You look at Artist of the Year, you got Lil Baby, Tyler the Creator, Cardi B, Drake, J. Cole, Megan Thee Stallion. Lil Baby won that category. This is catered to young people.
So it's a young man's game.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
until
I
this
mean,
year.
no, I'm not even saying that. What I'm saying is if they want to, but see, their programming is in a older style, right? So if you want to do that, there are artists who would fit that profile and fit that plug-in. And I don't really believe, and maybe, you could tell me different. You have a daughter that's in ninth grade. I know our daughter that is a freshman in college, they don't watch TV like that. They're not sitting there watching an award show. So if you're making an award show, this is going to be tailored to an audience that is used to watching award shows. And you might need to put some different artists in some of these categories.
Like it's all problematic. Like I mean, you spoke to it like early on. I mean, you texted me. You're like, they seem out of touch when you were talking about JD Tigger combo. You were like, they seem out of touch.
Mm-hmm.
And when I chimed in on it, because I was listening to it, but I kind of wasn't listening because it got kind of bland to me pretty quick, and so I rewinded and kind of listened to what you were talking about. And I'm thinking to myself, and this is my honest, I was like, man, these dudes are listening to Sade, Prince, and Earth, Wind, and Fire more than I am. They don't know what's going on.
They don't,
like,
to kind of brief our audience about what we're talking about. We're talking about when Jermaine Dupri was on Rap City 21 yesterday, right before the BET Hip Hop Awards, and him and Tigger were just basically talking about, it kind of threw me back to the 90s, right? Where they were asking people stuff like, what do you think about the current climate of hip hop? Because these have always been questions that people was asking different generations. And JD was saying the thing about, people not making timeless music, or what did he say? He was like the three guys that are the I guess the higher echelon artists. He said it was Drake, J. Cole, and Kendrick Lamar, and I'm like, that's such a generic industry out of touch answer. Like the whole conversation was out of touch.
As soon as he said that, I was like, yeah, in 2014, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's 7 years ago. It's in 7 years ago.
Unfortunately, I think what it is with them, they're so used to the major labels dictating who's on top of the game of hip hop, that is the last time that the major labels were able to dictate that. You know what I'm saying? Since then, it's been different.
JD has always been a numbers watcher and a chart topper kind of guy. And so that's what I'm saying. That just lets me know that he doesn't even like really pay attention to the numbers, because Kendrick hadn't even like done an album in years. So he's just really spitting out what he's last probably heard his circle spitting out to him when they were like at their peak. But that was like 7 years ago when all three of them were like that. Like he was talking the other day, and he just let me know he was out of touch, which always brings me back to,
not to cut you off, but to be fair, to kind of give that a little bit of context. He said he was going off of what J. Cole said on the recent song that we were talking about.
And you want to know why? He's checking for J. Cole because that's somebody that was relevant to him 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to bring up the same guy again. It's like, when Conway used to talk about not being mentioned, like prior to a king to a god, I used to be like, like I get what he's talking about, but might be a little overstated. But now I get it now, because it's like he's talking like there should be no greatest MC alive currently conversation right now in any sort of arena without Conway's name in it. It doesn't matter what coast you're on. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter what award show like he is showing himself to be that caliber and level of MC. And so it is a slight at this point when you have somebody the stature of JD saying Kendrick, J. Cole, and Drake, and not even bringing up somebody like Conway, or bringing up somebody like Benny, or bringing up somebody like Gibbs, or even saying Nas and AZ are having resurgent years.
Or even if you want to go another direction, let's not talk about NBA YoungBoy dropping 4 number 1 albums in a 3-year span. If you want to talk about that, you want to talk about what people like Kodak Black have been doing over the past 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's not act like they're not putting up numbers. They are, if that's what this is about. I think what it is, they come from an era where there was just this oneness. And if you weren't in that, that rotation, or whether that be radio or BET and MTV, you don't get talked about. You don't talk about the little
See,
brothers. You don't talk about all of that. But now we're in a game where everybody got, you know what I'm saying, got fans. You
see,
can,
hey,
you know,
now
everybody
this is
got
what I mean.
access.
So this is what I mean about her. Jermaine has kind of always been a numbers watcher. I can remember like after the whole Nas J thing had
Mm-hmm.
like simmered down and some years had passed, he was doing an interview about who was hot, and one of the journalists brought up Nas, and he was like, "Well, Nas really ain't popping like that anymore. People ain't really talking about him like that." That was like 2008, 2009. You see what I'm saying? It's like he kind of like judges it based on what he sees and what he hears going on to circulate, maybe not necessarily with the music, and maybe not necessarily for the long term. He's always been geared to that type of thing.
Well, that brings me to my other point, and I wanted to talk about this too, and just even questioning if award shows even need to happen now. How do you even quantify that? This ain't quantified by radio or television. These television networks who used to play music videos don't even play music videos. And radio isn't everybody's, I mean, isn't most people's main source for music, especially hip hop music, because it moves so fast. So, based on him being a numbers guy, and oh, the biggest thing here, people don't actually buy physical albums either. So, you can't quantify streams, you just know what people are being told. So, how is Jermaine quantifying those numbers if he's a numbers guy? It was a lot easier to do 15, 20 years ago, but not so much now.
So when we were doing, I mean, to cover one of those issues specifically, you want to know what I thought when we were having our pregame is that BET just needs some new blood in general. Like, I don't know who's running the show and how old they are, but even if they're our age, go find the person who's 25 who has the same requirements and start getting them to do some of this shit, because they just don't know what's going on, and it shows. Because here's the thing about it, because record labels used to do stuff like, I don't know, give you a budget for music videos because it would help generate these things called album sales.
Right.
That kind of created a trickle-down effect when they stopped giving money for it. Thereby, it was in the artist's hands to do the music video. Thereby, the network and relationships that had been built to pass those videos over kind of got broken, leaving the artist to kind of do it for themselves, and leaving the MTVs and BETs and VH1s with not such a glossed up, shiny product for motherfuckers who they don't know, quite frankly.
Not to mention YouTube killing their rotation of, you know what I'm saying, music videos.
I'm talking about the things they can control.
No, I agree.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just saying they stopped playing music videos because, again, no one's going to their TV for music videos now.
Right. No. But I mean, but there was nothing combative in the, you know, like they didn't do it bigger or do it harder to combat that either. They just kind of ceded to it. And in the ceding to it, they never like reorganized and reformatted themselves for like a new generation. So when you ask like, what's the award shows doing? It's like, I don't know. Because even it's like, they don't even have, you want to know what I give the Grammy credit for? They have a timeline on which they pull albums from. And you know what the timeline is.
Yeah.
So you know if your album makes the cut to be considered for this year, if it falls in the next year's category. Like, there's none of that. There are albums from 2 years ago that were getting nominated from stuff last night, correct?
Was it? Damn. I have to go back and check. But
I saw Meg's album get nominated for stuff. Did we cover Meg's album last year? Was that like a year and a half ago?
Yeah, definitely.
It would be past what I would call like a statute of limitation.
Because that's a good segue into this. So, not live performer. Let me find this real quick. It was the album of the year category that I was actually looking for. You know, I think I had it here. Album of the year category was A Gangsta's Pain, which came out not too long ago. That was Moneybagg Yo's album. Culture 3, Khaled's album, and Megan's album, Good News, the off-season 21 Savage, and with the Savage Mode 2, excuse me.
Okay, so Savage and Meg are last year,
that's
right?
Last year, yeah. That's like nearly a whole year ago.
That was like last summer for both of them, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. And Tyler won. But
and that's cool. But also too, let's get to the. Can we segue real quick with something with that?
No, go for it.
You got to stop giving artist awards just because they're there.
Well, that's television. Unfortunately, I think it's problematic too is the fact that how do you quantify as a network how you're giving these awards, right? Like, remember when the BET Awards used to, or BET Hip Hop Awards, when BET actually played music videos, you could be like, yo, I seen this video this many times on this network. This should win. Like, what is this being based on at this point? Because BET's doing nothing but playing Tyler Perry movies and, you know what I'm saying, Bad Boys or Martin and Fresh Prince in rotation. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like you can actually look at the network itself and say, yeah, Tyler took over that year. You know what I mean? Like, we could, at some point, we used to be able to look at the network and say, damn, Ja Rule had a great year at BET. He should win this.
No, that's what I'm saying, Mike. They need to go find somebody like there's some talent in that building. They need to go identify the young person in there with the mind and the structure to like tear some of this down and reformat it and rebuild it if they're going to continue to do it, or they need to let it go.
You know, and I was going to speak to that too, because I was talking to somebody in radio that I used to work with. He's an executive over there now, but they have issue with actually getting young people in because young people don't want to do radio or television anymore. That's not what they grew up on. They go straight to the internet. They do what we're doing right now.
No.
You know what I mean?
Their problem. That's their problem for not creating more avenues and lanes to show that's still viable and workable in a lane that you want to travel in. That's the fault.
But no, think about it though. A kid growing up now, they don't have radio DJs that they're listening to, looking up to, and say, "Yo, I want to be like them and get on the radio like them." They're listening to different podcasts. They're listening to people on YouTube.
Oh, Mike, you're right. They'd rather work for Spotify or YouTube or Facebook before they'd rather go. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like they're stuck in a place where, again, I say this respectfully, you got Tigger out here, you know what I'm saying, trying to revamp Rap City. And it's like, Tigger was what, in his early 20s when he got on Rap City? But he was in touch, and it was natural at that point. At this point, you're going to have to go get a young 20-something-year-old to do the next hip-hop show. The revamping is done.
Like the most popular DJ in Jersey when he got that gig, too?
Yeah. These are people that are in touch, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, radio is suffering in that way too, man. Like, you know, you hear people who are on the radio now, who've been on the radio since we were children.
No, they took it, but they also took advantage of everybody too. And like they're reaping the benefits of like taking advantages because now like the times are lean, the disorganization, the lack of structure, the no crap, like all this stuff is just showing its head, you know?
But at the end of the day, though, even if you don't have the youngest, poppinest personalities out there, which I'm sure they could get, because there's so many people on Instagram that are Instagram famous, right? You can write them a check. They should at least have young people behind the scenes that know what they're doing and don't want to be in front of the camera. And clearly, the way this show, both the Rap City and the BET Hip Hop Awards, was put together, doesn't seem like younger people put that together at all. Yeah, it was just totally, it was either rushed or put together by older folks, man. I just don't think they even need a BET Hip Hop Awards, honestly. I mean, I think the BET Awards is enough. What do you think about that?
You know, you make some very valid points. I would like actually for somebody to come up and kind of maybe start their own new hip hop award show that's maybe more in tune with the culture. You know what I thought the most poignant night of the night was? Who were the hosts? What was the name? What was the group of the hosts?
I forget the whole collective. I know their names individually. Yeah,
the one that did the Soulja Boy, like when they played Soulja Boy.
What's his name? Somebody in the chat says that he was in How High with Lil Yachty. Right. What's his name?
But when he was like, this is old school now to some people, I was like, you want to know what? I thought about it. I was like, it is. You know?
Yeah. I mean, Soulja Boy came out like nearly 15 years ago. That is old school.
Yeah, no, he came out the year my daughter was born. I remember.
So, all right. So technically, what is considered old school? Period. Like, is there a date? Is there a time period on old school? Because I was always told anything 10 years and older is old school. DC Young Fly, that's his name. Appreciate it, Michael Williams in the chat.
Young Fly.
Yeah.
So I mean, we have to start looking at how we're going to look at hip hop in a historical context because of how long it's been around now. So 10 years used to be old school. Now I would tell you it's more like 15. Before that, it used to be 5. Like, think about this, Mike. Think about the guys that were making projects in 1990 and 1991 and 1992. Yeah, like Run DMC and Curtis Blow and LL Cool J's Radio was old school to them.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
6
and
years before.
the crew is 85 South. I mean,
85 South.
so yeah, you're right, because in the early 90s, shit, radio or whatever came out in 85, 86, 87. Shit, let's start at Paid in Full. Paid in Full was literally old school in 91.
Mike, no, I was about to say, like, Dr. Dre made Straight Outta Compton sound old school. They're only released like 4 years apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. He made Straight Outta Compton sound like old school. It's like, man, yeah, Dre did that back in the day. It's like, no, he did it like 4 or 5 years ago, dude.
So you're saying that old school years change. So
yeah,
at
old
some
school
point,
years used to work like running back years. It used to be like 3 to 5, but the longevity in the game has changed and so now it's like 7 to 10. But I'm telling you that 7 to 10 is turning more like 12 to 15 now, even.
I mean, I think 10 is a good solid. Just
that's it. No, but Mike, okay. So when you're saying that that's old school, that's saying Good Kid, Mad City is old school, and that's not old school.
To you, it's not.
It's just not. No. It's just not. Like because it's it doesn't sound that much different than the music that you hear coming out of this era. It doesn't sound that much different, Mike. It's not a whole nother world. It's not a whole nother world just yet. And that's what I mean about how it's extended itself. Like in terms of the longevity of it, it's like it doesn't sound like a whole nother world like it used to. And a lot of that has to do with the lack of creation and innovation by the artist.
I mean, do you think the sounds are going to change that much more moving forward? Like, I mean, because again...
No, like what I'm saying is when I listen to Kendrick on Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe, it's like there are artists that still flow like that in that cadence today. It hasn't changed that much.
Well, you know what? Now that you mentioned Kendrick in this sense, I said it last year when we were listening to the Busta Rhymes album and Kendrick's verse on there. That shit sounds old. It does. There is a such thing as the old Kendrick. The Kendrick with the fade, with the, you know what I mean? Like the Kendrick with the hair is different than the Kendrick with the braids. And I would imagine for a person that's 20 years old, yeah, Good Kid, Mad City is old school to them. Let's take it as a person that's 25.
See, but this is what I mean. So you say to the person that's 20 now, but you're talking about a craft now that is what? Closer to 50 years old?
Take yourself out of it.
So, hold on. No. You're talking about a craft. I'm talking about hip-hop is how old now, Mike?
Hip-hop is about, what? If we want to start it at 73. If we want to start
there, at 73?
It's talking about 48 years old.
48 years old. So it's almost 50 years old. So what I'm saying is that a 20-year-old calling it old school at our age is different than the 20-year-old calling it old school in 2021. The time is different, Mike. When we were calling it old school 20 years ago, hip-hop had only been around for about a quarter century. It's been another quarter century.
But for a person that was 10 years older than us, that was different for them.
What I'm saying is that 20-year-old feels like it's old school, but what I'm trying to tell you is that now we have 30, 40, and 50-year-olds who say, no, you have to weigh it as a whole. And that's why it extends itself now, because hip-hop has extended itself as a culture now. And so now the longevity of the projects and how they stay with people has changed. Like Mike, we didn't have people sitting on Illmatic for 20 years. Hip-hop had barely been around for 20 years.
Rodriguez says Coop is analyzing through a grown-up perspective, but 5 to 10 is old, especially in the microwave era. I mean, because I always try to equate it back to, I don't know if that's fair or not, but back to when I was 18.
If it's so old, why are we waiting for Kendrick's album then? Why are we waiting for Jay Electronica to do more work? Why are we still excited about Pusha T Project? Mike, why are we still excited? Mike, why are we still getting excited about Kanye and Ghostface doing Supreme Clientele 2 in February 2022?
You're talking about us.
Mike, why Nas got Album of the Year for KD2? Why AZ probably in second for Do or Die 2? It's extended itself. I'm not being grown up. I'm just paying attention to how the cycle is extending itself.
How do you think a 21-year-old views old school? Do you think that Biggie's Juicy is old school?
Yes,
Is
that's super. No, that's super old school.
exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
What about Clips Grinding?
Ooh, see, now I would
That's
classify
old
that as
school.
official old school. That's old
Yeah.
school. Yeah, grinding's old school.
That's nigga. That's 19 years, right?
Yeah.
Let me get a little bit further up then.
And I said right now I would consider like old school to be like 10 to 12 years, not the 5 to 7 years. Y'all are calling Damn and Forest Hill Drive old school if that's the case. That's not old school. Based on what y'all are saying, Damn and Forest Hills Drive is old school. Now explain yourself.
Damn is.
No, he just said 3 to 5 years.
No. I don't agree with the 5. I agree with 10.
I mean, 10 is more fair. But Mike, I said 10 to 12. I said 10 to 12 could be considered old school. I brought up Good Kid, Bad City because there are projects that you find that year and around that time that still may not be totally old school to you, even though they come from that time. But what I'm saying is that old school used to be 3 to 5 years. Then it's 5 to 7 years. Now it's more like 10 to 12. But you can't tell me that Damn is old school.
You know who's old school? And it's funny, I was actually sitting on a panel for a young Universal artist out of Vancouver. Real dope shit. But anyway, I was listening to some unreleased stuff, and he was talking about how he grew up on Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi's the reason why he does music. You know what I'm saying? Like, he played Man on the Moon over and over. You could even see it in his face and how impacted he was by Kid Cudi's music. That's old school to him. Kid Cudi's an old school artist to him. He grew up on that, and he's grown on that.
Hold on. When did that album come out? When did that album come out by Cudi?
Man on the Moon had to be that era of around like 08 or something. Somewhere around that.
So when is that?
Let me look that up real quick just so we can get our facts straight. But I was saying
years ago, right?
Yeah, I was saying that
is
because
old school. I just said old school is 10 to 12 years. That's a project that's 14 years old. Yeah, that is old school.
Oh man, that's the updated one. Hold on. Because I want to be accurate here. Yeah, that was 09. And see,
13 years. Yeah.
Yeah, and so and I was thinking about that because of Pursuit of Happiness in the song with MGMT, and I started thinking about what we were listening to in that era. And I heard one of MGMT's songs being sampled, and I was thinking like, yo, man, Time to Pretend is being sampled now. I'm old. Yeah. So, but Mike, yeah, that's old school.
We've heard some of these samples 2-3 times now. Like,
yeah. Rodriguez said Man on the Moon is a classic. So, yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is there a specific time period where old school is, or it always changes? You're saying 10 to 12 years?
It's evolved. The period of it has evolved as the culture has continued to extend itself. Like, do you remember like the whole parental advisory and like all that? Like, a lot of that happened is because really people outside of the hip hop culture really did still think about 15, 20 years into this, that hip hop was still a fad, and that if they pressed the issue enough, they could usher it out. Or if they could label it and tag it with something, they could kind of suppress it. And so, like, people didn't expect hip hop to grow to this entity, including a lot of us, like, with inside, like hip hop circles. And so, as that time has extended itself, so is what becomes old school. Like, Mike, when I listen to the beats, like, from Paid in Full and Slick Rick's Greatest Adventures of Slick Rick, and like It Takes the Nations of Millions. Like, when I go back and listen to those records, it's like, man, I must really love those guys because this shit sound old.
Yeah. King Mark says, so Graduation and the Massacre are old school. Yes, they are.
Yes, Massacre super old school. It's dated as hell.
Yeah, Massacre is that's 2005.
Like Paid in Full might be the only 80s rap album that I listen to that like still excites me just because like the rhymes are so great and I know how important they are. The rest of it, I'd be like, it really got to be a song that I love from an artist that I love. Because even me at 40, that stuff that I grew up on that my older cousins who were like 44 and 48 and 50 now gave to me, it sound dated to me. I don't listen to it like that.
I've always said, I think that everyone thinks that the best music that exists is the stuff that came out between their ages of 12 and 18 years old.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like when you go on YouTube and read some of the comments of some of the shit that was garbage in the early 2000s, people be like, that's when music
Brilliant.
was music.
A
Yeah,
brilliant
like
piece of work. Yeah.
yeah, like that's classic. No, it's just classic to you because you grew up
No,
in that.
I'll give you an example, Mike. When I was going to Charlotte, Ain't No Half Stepping by Kane came on, and The Bridge Is Over came on by KRS on my playlist randomly. Both of those songs came on. I listened to both of those songs when I came on, but I didn't go play either one of those albums.
Yeah, but if it was something that came out, let's just say like Purple Tape stuff, you probably would have
Hey,
went back and played the whole thing.
you want to know what, Mike? Like The Saga Begins by Rakim played. I'm like, yeah, play that 18th letter, but that's 97 though. I'm in high school. You know
Right,
what I'm
right.
saying?
So you have
I'm like,
different
yeah,
memories of that. And like even
right.
with Supreme Clientele, right? Like Supreme Clientele came out during a very pivotal moment in my growth. And so for me, I would argue that album down against classic albums that came out before it from people who, grew up on that stuff. I mean,
Right.
it's all about what generation you come up in. And I don't know how we got on this old school tangent or whatnot, but
Because BET's old. That's how we got there.
yeah, man. I don't know what they need to do to update their system. Maybe we just don't need award shows. Period. Our award shows outdated. I mean, with the growth of social media and the fact that we're not even really able to quantify things in ways that we used to via radio, television, music videos,
I
and
mean,
stuff
you
like
want to know,
that, because
but this
everybody
is
does their own thing.
but this is also too why they need to get somebody young if they're going to keep on doing this. So let's speak to our situation more so to mine. Like Mike, you know how much hip hop that I listen to stay current with what's going on. Like it kind of comes with what we're doing. And somewhere along the way, whoever's running things over there thinks that doesn't come with it. And it's like, no, you can't just go read the blurbs and the excerpts and continue to play it like you're immersed in the culture. It's going to show. Go find somebody who does or who wants to do it. Like they're still out there. And so even when your man is like, oh, well, they're not hired, because they're not getting enough. But you got somebody, and like you're still getting some people. And here, and let me speak to the next thing. It's like, oh, well, if y'all aren't getting the same amount of people wanting this job, y'all need to do a better job about leadership and cultivation of talent then.
Yeah, and the artists are out there. You know what I'm saying? Because people are listening to music more than ever. I mean, people got all kind of access. And you brought up a great point earlier when we spoke. They had this whole thing backwards. They should have had the young emerging talents that were in some of that lyricism cipher on that Rap City couch, where Tigger could have actually spoke to like a D Smoke, a Tierra Whack, or again a Conway the Machine, AZ. That should have been what that was about, other than just going down memory lane.
Mike, they were in touch with the hip hop scene.
Yeah.
And if they were in touch with the cipher, they would have called up Westside or somebody from Griselda and was like, y'all got 10 minutes to do what y'all want.
Yeah. No, you're right. And so many artists that they have over there. I mean, I would have loved to have seen.
Mike, they could have got Preem back up on the boards. He loved them. They could have got Alchemist. They could have got Havoc. Like so many dudes from that cipher generation, production wise and MC wise. Like Mike, they could have got AZ to come out with a verse just because he's been doing work with them. He's just on Westside's project. You feel me? Conway's just on his project. He obviously has built a relationship with these guys. So it's like there's so many ways they could have played it. I told you, Mike, Benny, Westside, and Conway wouldn't even have to rap for them to get a cipher off. They could do Boldy, Armani, Stove, and Love. They can all spit.
No, you're right. And I think that the appeal...
Flea Lord, Mike.
Yeah. The appeal of the BET Hip Hop Awards has been the ciphers. And I think that they need to recognize that that's what their draw is. And you can't go out there with weak ciphers. I think that an award show like this, they need to figure out the cipher thing first and build the award show around that. And I feel like this one kind of went top down.
Mike, you remember the Good Music Cipher? Yeah. I was excited about that. I'm like, oh, they got Ye, Common, Kush, Chunk. They all they right there. They all suited up. They knew it was a moment. They suited up for it.
That was a good idea, and that was somebody who was in touch who actually put that together, I'm sure.
What I'm saying. The Def Squad Cipher, Mike, somebody was thinking about it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, they could have had like a Buffalo cipher or something like, you know what I'm saying?
Wu-Tang got like a whole thing like on Hulu, Netflix right now.
Yeah.
We still ain't got no Wu-Tang Cypher.
And you know what? Even if
you can get half a Wu to come Cypher right now.
Right. And even if you don't want to go there, which would be amazing, you could get the guys who play the Wu-Tang guys to do a cypher. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that these award shows are so catered around just elevating the mainstream acts and just giving WAP Song of the Year and stuff like that, that everything else falls flat. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to continuously get these guys who are going to actually bring interest to your show and not give them any awards either. You know what I mean?
So
that's the conflict of interest. You're not going to go out there and get Conway, Benny, and these guys to carry a show, and you're going to give all the awards to Cardi B. You know what I'm saying? That's not going to happen.
That's why I said there needs to be some tearing down and reformatting, and they need to start making this a hip-hop show again if they're going to do it, because it's not a video show anymore. It's not a popularity contest anymore.
It's not a radio show.
You know how today's generation really runs? And this is what I mean about me just staying current with it. Oh, no, you have to listen to it to stay current. You got, when YouTube sends you a little notification or Tidal or Apple or whoever, like, no, you got to go listen if you want to stay current, and they're just not current on any sort of level. But let's speak to something deeper than that, because if we're going to kind of we're going to criticize the MCs for their lacks of craftsmanship, well, everything that we're talking about BET right now, that's a lack of craftsmanship too.
No,
they haven't been putting in the work, Mike.
They haven't been putting in the hours. No.
Yeah. So it's like, so what we're seeing is, it's like, oh, if somebody felt like the MCs were lackluster from the cypher, well, I'm not gonna hold them totally accountable, because the people behind the scenes are lackluster as well.
Well, no, they put the wrong people. Yeah.
Your responsibility behind the scenes is to deliver us a viable and entertaining product.
Exactly.
And so when you fail at that, that means you need to analyze what you're doing in terms of what position you're putting the artists, entertainers, whoever is supposed to be selling and making your product viable in position to succeed. And so BET didn't put these people in position to succeed, because the way of doing that was sitting their ass, who can't rap as well as the guys on the couch, was on the couch, and taking the guys who can rap and know more about the core fundamental values of hip hop, take their ass off the couch and be like, you hit the turntables, you hit the mic, let's have a good time.
Listen, man, you don't get the guys who don't care about ciphering to go out there and cipher. That's not what they do. We don't want to hear, Britney Spears go out there and sing "I Will Always Love You." You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to actually put people where they're strong at. And that's their job. And you're right. That's not the artist's fault that they got put in a situation of a cipher when that's not their strong points. No.
Remember when Prince was talking to Larry King about, like, well, I'm the artist, like, I made the product, like, isn't it the job of the company, like, to promote the product and make sure that it does well? Like, I did my part as an artist. I gave you a product that you found that was viable enough to sell because you released the product. So you thought these artists were viable enough to put them in a cipher. So in the format, like this ain't the streets like cypher, where it's like you don't care who's coming or how coming, it's winner take all, and you really don't care. Like, you don't care if dude who's ciphering against you, mom died yesterday. That ain't got nothing to do with winning these ends right now. This ain't that format. This is for TV, so you have to put these people in positions to succeed.
Yes, and the bigger part too, and like I said before, they have to understand that their ciphers are the biggest draw of their show. And they know that, because that's why they keep the ciphers going. So it's your responsibility to make sure that the ciphers are the strongest part of the show, even if the rest of the show is trash. You need to make sure that the cipher is good.
You off, but you just spoke to something very heavily that speaks to probably the number one reason that they're out of touch. Anybody who knows about this show knows the ciphers have been what's been holding it for a long time. Apparently, the people who were doing the show didn't realize it. Like, y'all didn't know? You didn't know your ciphers was holding your whole hip-hop show together for, like, the past decade anyway?
Yeah, they're out of touch to the point where it's like, you probably just go look in whatever blog they go to and say, okay, who are the hottest names that we can get?
Hey,
and
Mike,
you look at numbers.
I usually don't care who's watching, but I hope somebody who worked for them is watching this shit and taking notes. Like, all jokes aside.
Yeah, I mean, because it's easy to
because it still says BET, no matter who running it, which says Black Entertainment Network. You're still doing a hip hop awards show. Like, why don't you go do some motherfucking work.
Well, the thing is, man,
Real work. No, some
I think a
real
lot of them
work.
just
Like,
look
no,
at numbers.
Mike, we put in real work. Like,
Yeah.
we not them, but we put in real work. And so, like, it's almost like, how it is with Domino's, it's 10 to get in, right? Like, you got to do some work.
Yeah. Listen, I don't know what they do on a daily over there at BET because, again, like I said, I see nothing but Fresh Prince reruns and Martin reruns. So my thing is, when it's time to do an awards show, you would think that they've had a long time to actually prepare for this, right? Because it's not like they're doing day-to-day programming of a 106 and Park show or a Rap City show where they were doing 5 shows a week. When you think about it now, that was real heavy work they were doing. Even if they were playing the same videos over and over, they still were doing daily music programming. They don't do that now. So you would think that they would have had a lot more time to put in on these hip hop award shows, but it could be one of those things, Coop, where they don't utilize any of that staff until it's time to do it. So they might pull them in a month or two before the award show, and they just kind of hit the ground running and have to pull together a show. Because I will say, I don't know about the award show itself. That Rap City thing looks super rushed. That there was no thought put into that Rap City thing that they did. That Rap City 21, there was no thought in that. It feels like they just got whoever they could get.
So, you brought up like reruns of Martin right quick. A lot of that Martin stuff, especially like first couple of seasons, was freestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What people forget is that almost every member of that cast was priorly trained on stage, and pretty damn funny to be pulling off a freestyle like that. You feel what I'm saying?
Super talented.
Yeah, Martin Lawrence already trained on stage. Tisha Campbell, Sheena Arnold, Carl
Tommy
Anthony
Strong.
Payne. Yeah, Tommy. Like Carl Anthony Payne was on the Cosby Show when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking about they had been in movies before they were on Martin, Mike. Yeah. So it's like when they going in there and freestyling, it comes off very tactful and very funny. Everybody in there is skilled and trained. And so what I'm saying is that obviously the people that you have in there are not skilled and trained as you think, because the execution shows to, like, quite frankly, like a watchful eye like yours and like mine. Like, Mike, when I was watching it, I was laughing because I knew you were going to trash it.
Well, I think one thing. I think one thing that's different, though, when you talk about like the old guard, I guess, when television and radio used to run the music industry, and what's going on now, where people kind of got their own free will to listen to whatever they want to listen to, is you still have these people, as Jermaine would say, it was top heavy, where it's like Drake's putting up super numbers, but that doesn't mean anything. I don't feel like Drake's music's running shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you can go pull up the files and pull up the paper all you want and see that, okay, Drake just set all these streaming records, but does it feel like his music is taking over the scene? It doesn't feel like what 50 did with Get Rich or Die Trying. Like, you used to be able to feel when people were putting up numbers, right? It's not like that anymore. And so I think what a lot of these award shows do, they lean on that, and that's fool's gold.
So, and this is what I mean about how they're not. So let's go back to them not paying attention again.
Yeah, well, you got to pay attention to know what's really going on.
How about this? Things are more like when we grew up right now, sales-wise, like originally. Mm-hmm. Like, Enter the Wu-Tang went platinum. It didn't like sell like 5 million records. Like selling 5 million records, like if you wasn't Dre, Snoop, Ice Cube, or Tupac in the mid-90s, you wasn't going multi-platinum. You were going gold, maybe platinum. Maybe. Ready to Die did 1.5. Illmatic did 300,000. Enter the Wu-Tang barely went platinum. Southern Playalistic barely platinum. Reasonable Doubt gold. Purple Tape 700,000. It was more about, like, you had to have enough numbers to show that you were viable, but it was really about what you were doing and what the street said you were, Mike. Like the numbers didn't tell us Wu-Tang and Outkast were the best groups we heard. The music told us that they were the best groups that we heard. This is an entertainment network doing an award show centered around music that don't know shit about the music, really. other than what they're told. That's the problem.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And I think that in those eras that you're talking about, there was a lot there was a lot going on when it comes to the fact that radio and television didn't really support hip hop like that.
Yeah,
So and they were cool with that.
Players Ball and Protect Your Neck aren't some big lead off
Exactly.
single.
Yeah, like I think what really hurt.
I didn't hear Protect Your Neck till I heard the album. I was like, "It's the single." I thought Cream was the single.
No, right, and I think what really hurt hip hop moving forward was that massive radio and television support, because it started to become the standard where it's like, if you don't have this, you don't have the hits. But like you said, in those previous eras, we didn't need any of that stuff. And the streets would tell you that, the streets made Shook Ones. You're not going to hear Shook Ones a million times a day on TV, but that shit is a classic. And that's why I had a problem with what Jermaine was saying, that people aren't making music for, making timeless music. Well, how are you quantifying that exactly? Again, I think he's just going off of his own scale of what people were doing in his time, and massive radio spins.
You want to know what, Mike? That's because he doesn't listen. That's why I was telling you. It's like, oh no, I'll tell you. And I love Prodigy. Jesus Crisis is better than Keep It Thorough. I stay current.
Yeah, and that's another thing, man. From a King to a God came out last year. Did you hear that? And you want to sit here and say that this guy's not elite when it comes to MCing? I don't know.
He's elite, Mike. He is the elite. And here's what I mean. There's enough of his scattered verses over the last 2 years. You don't have to hear his project to know that.
No, I agree.
Oh.
My bad.
No, you're good.
But, yeah, I agree. And it's so much going on in hip-hop. I think that they don't know how to really get a hold on it, because it's not what they're used to, and it's reflecting in the programming. And that's the other thing. When you don't do consistent programming and you're not in practice with actually putting together a Rap City episode or an award show, it's going to look like that, and it's going to come across like that, and it's going to reflect that you haven't been doing the work. Listen, I'll end it with this. I mean, I know we could go on and on with that, but I just don't think BET needs a BET Hip Hop Awards. Keep it with the BET Awards in itself, because that seems to come across a little bit better. I never really understood the need for a BET Hip Hop Awards anyway. The cyphers kept it alive, but now the people that you're trying to make this show for don't even care about cyphers.
It would be nice if they really just embraced this culture totally and just condensed it to one award show and included the cypher in the BET Awards. That would be the smart thing to do.
I think they start doing that, but they start having singers and stuff in the cypher and all that, watered the cypher down even further.
No, that's whack. Nobody wants to hear singers do runs during an awards show.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. What is he doing? Mike, I mean, you want to hear Mariah do some runs? I mean, I'm sure it sounds great, but
I just want to hear the song, man. I don't know. That's just me. Now, let me ask you this, though. Artist of the Year. How do you feel about Lil Baby winning Artist of the Year when Tyler, the Creator, Cardi B, Drake, J. Cole, and Megan Thee Stallion? Hold on. Let me stop there. How did Cardi B get nominated for Artist of the Year? Cardi B's another one. She hadn't dropped an album since 2018. She ain't dropped no mixtape or nothing. How is she even nominated? I don't like that. I think that's disrespectful to people who actually put in work, man.
There just need to be some department switches going on. Some people need to go over here, need to move over there, and vice versa. Just need to do some department switches and get some people to kind of reformat this to know what's going on. Because you want to know what that sounds like too? That goes back to, that's why I had certain people my daughter were talking about boxed off, because it's she had certain people, but she was also telling me she bought up Cardi B. I was like, yeah, but she ain't dropped nothing. She was she hasn't dropped anything, but still relevant. It's almost like BET is adopting my daughter's mentality. That's why it's they need to get in somebody in there, because my daughter's opinion is viable. She's also 14.
But she's relevant.
But you need not have the same rationale as a 14-year-old when you have to execute an entire programming station that represents Black culture that's gonna meet millions, reach millions. You might want to have a little bit more of a diverse perspective, because I know why my daughter says Cardi B is popping, but in the musical context, what I was telling her is like, yeah, musically though, like what has she done? And she's like, no, not like that. It's still popping. And I was like,
But
okay, as
see,
long as we understand.
I think your daughter probably feels like that way because they keep Cardi B in her face. You know what I'm saying? She continues to
No,
get platform.
no. But what I'm saying is that when you're doing this though, an award show
Yeah,
about music,
yeah.
there need to be certain criteria
What's
and
the criteria,
requirements.
right? Like how are
And
how are you?
my daughter's requirement of, oh yeah, she popping right now still, even though there ain't no music. Well, that really doesn't cover it when you're doing a music award show, now does it?
Now I know they're probably gonna lean on WAP, right? I don't feel like you should be able to put out one hit single and get nominated for Artist of the Year. You got to have a whole project. You just have to.
I mean, she did Up too, so I guess, and she's done some verses here and there, like she's on Culture 3, right?
Yeah, I get it. You got to have a full project though to be
You gotta have a
nominated for
project,
Artist of
because
the
then
Year.
it goes back to the fact that it's like, and this is what I mean about how Conway is right about feeling slighted. It's like, oh, well, y'all got people up here that ain't even got no projects out. This man done released like 6 projects in the last 2 years.
Exactly. It's crazy, but
So you don't know what's going on. And it's like, that don't even got to be your thing. But 6 projects in 2 years and all the countless verses and appearances, and you got artists up here that literally haven't dropped albums in years that you're handing out like nominations and stuff to. It just shows that you're not paying attention. And guess what? And you're not paying attention gets less and less people showing up to these shows every year.
well, speaking of not showing up,
How about this? Mike, if Tyler doesn't win that award from LL Cool J, he's not there last night. It's like LL wants to present you with an award, and it's like LL wants to present me with an award. Oh, well, Tyler's a fan. I'm there. He wasn't going to show up for that, so he probably wasn't even going to get his Album of the Year award if he wouldn't have got the other award from LL.
well, speaking of not showing up, Drake doesn't show up to BET Awards, right? He was nominated for this category as well, and what do you think about that? Because it was so, he just dropped his album. You know what I mean? Like that's my thing. Like,
What are we doing?
yeah, it's like okay, was he gonna be nominated for Artist of the Year whether he dropped Certified Lover Boy or not, or is this actually for Certified Lover Boy? And if it is for Certified Lover Boy, he did historic numbers. How does he not win?
So this is how I feel, Mike, and this is what I mean. There needs to be some redistribution, and they need to go find some younger talent. Some of these lists almost feels like the guys and gals who were 25 to 30 when they were doing these shows 10, 15 years ago, or 40 to 45 now, and they're picking the guys that were hot when, like, oh, so they
I
see
agree
Drake,
with you.
up, boom, they see Nicki, up, boom, they see Wayne, up, boom. You feel what
Yeah,
I'm saying?
it's like I was
it's
I was a Young
it's
Money
like,
fan or something. Yeah.
right. Like, no, dude, that was 10 years ago. That was 10 years ago. It's like, like if you could show that you're like, they don't even have categories that show that they're into the culture. Do they even know that Wayne's snapping right now?
No. And it's interesting, man. And I really wish that they played videos like that because J. Cole's nominated for Artist of the Year as well. Do you really believe that BET would be playing a whole bunch of stuff from the off season?
Forget all that, Mike. He won Lyricist of the Year, and it was just a blurb on the screen.
Let's go to that category. Lyricist of the Year. Well, Live Performer of the Year is right here. Lyricist of the Year. I thought I had this in the graphic. I guess not. Anyway, the Lyricist of the Year category, J. Cole took that one too. You're right. And who was in that? Was it Nas?
So
Let
yeah,
me
Nas was
find
in there
that.
too. But listen to how out of touch they are. Y'all are dedicating all this time to ciphers from MCs who don't care about lyrics, but then your Lyricist of the Year is J. Cole, and you just put a blurb up on the screen. Now, do lyrics matter or do they not? Because you're committing all this time to a cipher and getting artists to rhyme over the same beat over and over again, but then it's time to announce Lyricist of the Year, and you don't even announce it. You just throw up on the screen and call it a day.
Looking
What
at
are you
this,
doing?
looking at these category. I mean, looking at the nominees. Excuse me. In this category, you're completely right about certain people being stuck in an era. Right. The Lyricists of the Year nominees were J. Cole, Lil Baby, Megan Thee Stallion, Drake, Benny the Butcher, and Nas.
Yeah. No. So even with that, it's like I feel like even with Benny has become kind of what like it's hard to even qualify it, but he's like the street rapper that they go to on BET just to kind of throw his name in there. It's like they put Freddie and Benny in there. They're not about to get anything. And so it's almost
Right.
like it's all you know what it's like. It's like when the NFL brings in the black candidate that you know that's not about to get the job anyway. They're just doing it
It's
so
the
they
Rooney
cover their
Rule,
bases.
yeah.
Yeah, they're just doing it for the peripherals. Yeah.
I mean, and they wouldn't dare put Conway in here. It's interesting,
And
man.
how is Conway not in here when Benny and Freddie are? And no disrespect to them, but it's just like if they are in here, where
Freddie's
it's like
not in there. Freddie's not in there. It's J. Cole, Lil Baby, Megan Thee Stallion, Drake, Benny, and Nas.
and this is what I mean about you have to stay current. Part of being current is being objective too. And so, like I tell you, like I love Nas, Mike, and everybody knows it. You'll never hear me saying King's Disease is better than Alfredo. Never,
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah. This is but see, I'm not even sure if this is for King's Disease 1 or 2. That's the other
We
thing.
don't know, Mike,
Yeah.
but I'm just left like because here's the thing: like, is Benny being nominated for Plugs too, or is he being nominated for Burden of Proof? Probably for Burden of Proof. That's last year. That's why I'm saying it's
Yeah.
like so. It's like if you're going from last year, it's like well, go ahead and give me Freddie in there too, and go ahead and put Conway in there, and I'm going to take both of their performances over Nas's performance last year, even.
You know
And then
what?
update-
You know what? With all this talking,
if you're going off last year's stuff, you don't know what you're doing. It's okay.
we might as well just do it according to Hip Hop Awards. I mean, that's what it is. My only fear is I honestly don't think people watch award shows. To be perfectly honest with you, man, do award shows even serve a purpose anymore?
Okay, so what the Source Awards did, even though it was disorganized and problematic on a few levels, it showed the power of the culture and how many people in the sphere of hip hop cared about hip hop. The other black companies, white companies, people saw the money in that. It's like, oh no, these guys are serious about this. The Source Awards kind of let people know how serious the culture was. When the Source Awards is going on, hip hop's only about 20 years old, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
It had galvanized itself to the point of having an award show. And so it was one of those kind of like stand up straight moments. But really what it was is that when we poked our head out and made our show available and viable for mass consumption for other people to water it down. And that's really what it's been ever since.
Well, you know what? One of the things
As far as disorganized as it was, it's still the most epic. It's still the most important, and it still spawned so many things that affected the culture of hip hop to this day. It's like I tell people, it's like if the 95 Source Awards don't happen, like you get Illmatic again. You don't get It Was Written.
Well, I think that the quote unquote, disorganization of the Source Awards just comes from everybody in the situation being inexperienced. But everybody in that situation being inexperienced is why it actually was able to happen. Because at that time, as big as those Dre and Snoop records were, they weren't getting invited to these, other award shows that had their nose in the air.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
I feel like Snoop and Dre made the Grammys.
If they did, they probably.
Snoop and Dre made the Grammys.
Okay.
It was either it might have been the American Music Awards, Mike. Snoop
Yeah,
and Dre
probably something like that.
You don't remember Dre came out in the Candy Red 6'4"?
Yeah. But I mean, they were super crossover, right? And I'm just saying I'm pulling them out because they're
that was what was crazy. No, Mike, they weren't super crossover. That was some extremely gangster shit.
But I know, I feel you. They crossed over. I mean, I'm not saying they tried to cross over.
But the shit they was talking one.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
With a gangster lean, right? That ain't. Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I think that at that time, they were big, but they were still outcasts in big spaces, right? So what the Source hit, they were actually at a time where all of these guys, whether they were super big or kind of just emerging, they all felt comfortable in that one space. You're not going to get acts that are that big to be in a room like that again.
Hey, Mike, they might have been in that room together, but I don't think anybody in that room was comfortable.
But you know what I mean. They were around their peers. They weren't treated like the rapper in the room. You know what I mean? And so that's
No,
what.
you're right, Mike. You ain't gonna get no award show with Black Thought and Biggie and Nas and
Yeah.
Tupac and Prodigy, like all these just like epic MCs.
Yeah.
The whole Wu-Tang Clan lined up. Like, no, you're
Yeah,
not.
the timing was just incredible, and they took advantage of the timing. And I think that
Outkast, Goody.
I'm
Yeah.
saying all that to say I don't think that's something that could really be duplicated for those reasons. I think the game is so different now. People who have done a certain amount of units, they're not going to show up.
Well, hold on. You haven't taken care of these hip hop artists. It's like I was telling you behind the scenes. I was like, when the last time like Nas, Jay, or Snoop, or any of those really, really big guys been to one of these? Well, it's like, well, how were they really like accommodated and treated when they were there? You get what I'm saying? It's like they really didn't cater. They didn't cater to the audience that kind of like introduced them to this. And those guys know that, and so they don't show up and support it.
It's a very difficult thing, man. I don't know. I don't know what the future of award shows looks like because, again, television is so much slower than the internet, and it's very tough to stay on top of that. And I mean, I guess it could be done, but I think that they need to go ahead and just 86 the BET Hip Hop Awards and just try to. They do a good job with the Soul Train Awards, and they do a decent job with the BET Awards. But
the beautiful, the beautiful thing about the cipher when they were doing it properly is that it showed you that they still understood like the background and the aesthetics of hip hop. Some it's like no, black and white those photos out, put us in a warehouse somewhere and put the DJ up. Like but they got to the.
You got to have the right people in those settings too, though.
Right. No, that's why I'm talking about the setting that these artists got put in today. It's like, oh well, this isn't their setting.
Before we go, man, they're in the chat talking about this Meek Mill thing. I wanted to address this anyway.
What's talking about?
Yeah. Terminator said,
like, I've been chilling like and had some other a real big exam today. Like I haven't been keeping up with it, but what have people been saying?
Well, the Terminator thinks we're crazy about how we came at the Meek Mill project, and a lot of people have issue with us saying that Meek Mill's overrated. I'm seeing that. Let me go through some of the comments. I
didn't necessarily say overrated. I just said show me the growth. Really was my overall point. It's like, where's the growth?
All right. Tariq Knowles says Meek has personal records. I'm reading some of the comments. Tariq Knowles says Meek has personal records. He says Trauma, Cold Hearted, 1942, Heaven or Hell, Save Me, From the Bottom, DC2 Intro, Shine, Blue Note, Young Black America, Nightmares and Dreams. Hey, look, we got a Meek fan over here. He kept going on and on.
Okay.
All right, here's another one. Jesse Terry says, y'all sound...
Women and talking about pulling triggers is not personal. Anybody can do it.
Y'all sound stupid. Meek killed this album. He switched his flow, his content up more than he has on any other project.
2 songs. He switched his content up on 2 songs.
Y'all been wanting him to switch up for 5 years. Now he finally does it, and y'all bugging. Give it another listen the second and third time through when I felt... he said, I gave it another listen the second and third time through when I felt he was feeling while making the... Oh, something like that.
I'll listen again.
I'll listen to it again, I guess. Here's another one. Craig Brown says, Championships is a classic. Win and loses banger classic. He got Billboard Album of the Year with the whole Dream Chaser series.
Oh,
classic.
No, not Billboard Album of the Year. Whatever are we going to do? What the fuck?
DC2 broke that piff. He went up against Cassidy. Came at Kendrick. And the Kendrick You Next to Nobody in the rap history connect. Man, this person was writing crazy.
Look. I like Meek. Meek is a dope MC. I don't think people understand, and so I'm going to explain this. We got to rate you at the level that people keep saying that you're at or that you've already proved yourself to be at. And so he's been rated at a fairly high level. And for the level that y'all are rating him at, he hasn't delivered like y'all said. And that's really what I'm saying. And the records that these people are naming are not giving any proof to that shit. And so what you sound like is that you're a personal fan of the artist, And there's nothing wrong with that. Like Mike, there are guys that I'm like personal fans of, but in the sphere of like the culture and objectively, I wouldn't like never like misstate or overstate them. You get what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
Mike, like I love Jeezy, Mike. Like I love Trapper Die and Trapper Die too. I'll tell you flat out, it's like Jeezy can't mess with Ross. There's a reason Ross was just headlining that show. And I probably love Jeezy more. You get what I'm saying? But I'm objective about it, and what y'all are Meek fans, and that's fine. But objectively speaking, he is spitting the same rhetoric as he ventures into his mid-30s that he was spitting in his mid-20s. That's not growth. He's still talking about sleeping with women all the time on almost every record. Almost every record. And it's not like a song about one girl. And if it is, he's... No, like stop telling me that it's growth. It's like doing a couple of personal records doesn't show growth when all you do publicly is talk personally now. It's like y'all know Meek ain't out here in the street shoot him up like with all that, just about what has already happened to him from him being on that. Like this was a perfect opportunity for him to talk different. And what it really sounds like is he tried to impress y'all that were fans, and he didn't deliver like y'all think. And I'm going to stick to it, but I'm going to listen again.
Mr. Buck asks, is it worth giving Meek album a listen? I say no, but, I'll go back.
No, that's disrespectful because he's talented and there's place for everybody on the stage and everybody deserves a shot. But no, when you're talking about the same things at 25 that you are at 35, like, didn't we just get on Drake about this? That's why I said we got to be fair and be consistent. We just got on the rhetoric of Certified Lover Boy and just be like, yo, is Drake 35 or is he 25?
The Terminator says, if he living that life, why you hating, Coop?
No, I'm not hating. No. You're more than welcome to enjoy yourself. No.
Yeah, I'm just reading the comments.
No. I ain't never that guy, my G. I ain't never been that guy. I'm going to tell you like my brother used to tell me, Peter Paul said, try them all. So I'm not that guy, but what I'm saying is when I'm listening to an album from somebody who I want to deliver something more, who I know is capable MC-wise of delivering something more, and they give us more of the same, I'm going to say so. As much as y'all think this is different, it's more of the same, delivery-wise, content-wise, subject matter-wise. He just switched it up enough to fool you because you're a fan. I'm going to tell you an MC that did a good job that I love that did that to me, Mike. Nas with Nasir. It's like I thought it was great when I first heard it. It's like, man, this is awesome. This is amazing. It's like, no. This is a 4. It's a 4.
Yeah.
It's a 4.
We got a comment in here that says Meek was never a dope MC. Excuse me. People just like low quality music, and that's cool. You know what? I'm with you on that. I never really thought Meek was a dope MC like that. Like I feel like he took Ace Hood. He took Ace Hood's flow and ran with it. I mean, I don't know. That's just my opinion. You don't feel like he took Ace Hood's flow a little bit?
I didn't say that, but I think saying he's not dope, that is being a little disrespectful.
He can rap. I think that just based on the catalog, I'll put it this way, it's nothing that I'm going to go to. You know what I'm saying?
So here's the thing about it. For the connections that Meek has had, I mean, think about it. He's been through some Tupac-like troubles.
Right. No, definitely.
And I don't say that too often, Mike. You know how I feel about Pac. He's had Tupac-like troubles. He's been connected with the highest of the highs in this industry. He's been connected with people high outside of this industry, like Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots. And so for all of that, I would tell you, what does he have music-wise that validates all the attention and all the network and all the praise? And that's the question that I'm raising because, Mike, you know how Me Against the World and All Eyes on Me sound like?
Yeah. The Terminator says, Meek gives the home. What do you say? Oh, Meek gave your soul. What more do you want? I guess he's saying Meek gave us his soul. What more do we want?
No, so Mike, we're going to go back to what we said about Freeway's verse on What We Do Is Wrong. Freeway gave us more in that verse than we got out of Meek.
You know what? We got to set up I'm going to set up a call-in line.
Mike,
I want people to call
There's not one verse from Meek that you feel the way that you feel that verse that Free got from What We Do.
I'm gonna set up the call in line, man. I want people to call in and we could talk about this Meek thing. I want Meek fans to call in. Dre says Meek got some hits, but this album is a D plus. Do you think that's fair? A D is in David plus.
I mean, I think the last two projects are better, but I don't think that that's saying a whole lot. I consider those projects to be average.
Oh man, Mr. Buck's right. He said Meek came in the game at the right time. Timing is everything. I totally agree.
I agree with that.
I totally agree. I think if Meek came in right now, it would be a whole different thing. Not in a good way.
So, y'all love Meek Project so much. Tell me what he got on there for KD 2, or Hitler Wears Hermes 8, or Do or Die 2, or Bo Jackson, or All the Brilliant Things, or The House is Burning, or Call Me If You Get Lost. He don't. It ain't like y'all saying it is. So like y'all need to check that. That's what I'm saying. Because when people start saying that, it's like, no. I'm gonna give you albums from artists who came out this year, who when you line his project up next to him, it's like you can get the song 4 or 5 and be like, my bad, I didn't mean that. I know you didn't mean that. But you can apologize now, or you can go listen to these albums and hear that he's not there.
What about Vince Staples?
I think Vince's project was better than this. I thought Vince's project was flawed, but Vince showed more capability as an MC in terms of his versatility. Now, Vince did get agile on the mic on his project.
Definitely. You know what? Let's cut it off here because I know we're gonna talk about this KRS and Kane on Friday. KRS and Kane are doing the verses. And how you want to do this on Friday? You want to you gonna pick songs for both sides? You want one of us to pick one artist and one pick the other? How you want to do it?
How you want to run it?
I was gonna pick Kane and pick Kane's songs, but hey.
Go ahead. No. That's cool. No, that's cool.
I'm gonna pick 20 Kane songs. You pick 20 KRS songs, and we'll preview this thing and see how this versus turns out.
Now, normally I don't do this, Mike, but I'm gonna tell you something, and I think you already know this. Kane got some shit on guest appearance versus he's one of the few artists from his era that did multiple guest appearances with other people on other people's shit.
Right. I'm looking forward to it, man. I mean, I think on a performance level,
this is about to be the best performance that we get out of two MCs on the stage together or at the same time performance.
It gets no better. They're both top 3 performers.
Who would be third?
I'd say Busta Rhymes would be third, but they're both top 3 performers to me. You don't think Busta Rhymes is?
DMX in his prime was.
DMX is special in his prime, but through and through, I gotta give it to Busta Rhymes.
If you want to give like career achievements, yeah, but if I was picking somebody other than KRS or Kane, if I just had to do it in a vacuum, I would take like that 5-6 year run of DMX on stage.
When he was praying on stage and crying on stage and stuff.
I mean, have you seen like the Jay interview where he's talking about having to go in after everybody, and it's like he got everybody like riled up and ready to kill everybody, and he's doing like get at me dog and stop being greedy. And so he's got them as like as amped and as violent as they can be. And then it's like by the end of the show, he's got them in prayer and in tears. And then they're telling Jay like, okay, it's your turn. He like,
you know, I think it's very sad for Jay to finally tell that story in detail when the man dies. You know, I've heard Jay talk about, you know, the fact that, you know, DMX made him step up his performance game and all that stuff. But you know, I wish that, you know, he could have given X those flowers while he was here, but yeah, I've heard that story.
Yeah. So he would be the guy I put in third. The Roots Live is amazing, Mike, but that's a band that's not fair.
Nah, it's not fair at all.
Yeah. Like them dudes from like 94 to like 2000 live. Like, because they was on some rap shit still. You know what I'm saying?
You know, like other than that, I would gotta give it to Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre, man. They're incredible performers, but they got the music. They got the music, man.
They got an unfair advantage. It's like, you want to know what it's like? It's like, you know, it's like the first person in tennis that came like with a racket that was like 2 or 3 inches bigger so they could get to more balls because of it. That's what the Chronic and Doggy Style is like. It's like they're playing with a bigger racket.
I mean, but Snoop's a great performer. I give it to him.
No, Mike. I saw Snoop live down here at Lakewood for my birthday. My pops took me the Up and Smoke tour. I was there. Yeah, my pops took me to the Open Smoke tour at Lakewood for my like 22nd birthday or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I seen Snoop live. He gives an awesome show.
Terminator's
once
asking if
once you see past the smoke, Mike. Once you see past the smoke, and I'm not talking about Snoop. I'm talking about everybody else in the crowd. Like once you see past the smoke and can actually see Snoop. Like,
well, the Terminator said the Papoose album is nice, and he said Lil Wayne killed his feature on the Papoose. Wayne might be guest artist.
Somebody else told me the Papoose album was nice. I need to check it.
Yeah, we got to go check that. We might talk about that a little bit on Friday too.
You know, he's one of those guys that goes unheralded too, Mike. Alphabetical Slaughter came out my senior year of high school.
Yeah, Alphabetical Slaughter is that's a classic.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like stuff like that's like not even like old school now. That's like classic now. That's
see here we got old school and we got classic. Yeah.
Well, you know, it used to be that's part of how, like, before the Source came along, it's like you really didn't call something like old school because there was no old school. It was like, that's a classic. Like, Paid in Full was a classic. Criminal Minded was a classic. The Greatest Adventures of Slick Rick was a classic. Long Live the Cane was a classic. You know, that's how you certified it. It was like, no, that's the great joint from that era. There weren't a lot of eras to go through.
Yep. All right, man, we're going to talk about this Friday, man. I'm looking forward to it. But, yeah, great discussion about award shows. And, you know, I guess where I'm ending up at it is I think they need to just do away with the BET Hip Hop Awards until they can figure it out.
Mike, this is what I mean about being out of touch. Sometimes you just got to pay attention to be in touch. Y'all are doing a hip hop award show. Y'all are old like I am. Why is an award tour by Tribe Called Quest the theme music to the award show? Tell me that wouldn't get hyped here and there every time the awards show starts. Boom, boom, boom.
You talking about two different audiences.
Mike. They're not thinking about it. They're not trying at all. I just did that off the top of my dome right now.
I think the problem is
like, they're not trying at all.
I think the problem is they're catering an award show to an audience that doesn't watch award shows.
But then they sat Fat Joe down on the couch and showed a Rap City clip that preceded Tigger with big legs. They don't know what they doing.
Right.
So since this is a hip hop award show, the least you could do is play award tour by Tribe Called Quest when the shit kicks off.
They're putting artists in a cipher that don't care about ciphers. So, yeah.
Mike, play award tour then too. Shit.